So I just wanted to talk a little bit about problem solving and stuff I'm seeing. And here's here's the funny thing. You guys are really good at math, all of you. You're kind of like some of the best math kind of people that we have. That's who ends up in physics. And half of you are in calculus and half of you are in advanced math. You didn't get there because math is not your strong suit. And yet, here's what I see every single year. So this is what, my 6th year, I think, teaching physics. And I can tell you, I can promise you, I can guarantee you that this will make your algebra better. And what I see coming in is the same kind of algebra mistakes repeatedly. And I finally had one young man last year who was brave enough to say, okay, look, I don't think that I can consistently rearrange. Okay, fine. So several of you, I've written this down for you, and it helps. You remember order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Whoops. Aunt Eunice. Okay. So, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. When you're rearranging, all you're doing is that in reverse order. So for some of you, this is so intuitive that you don't even think about that anymore. But if you're struggling and you're screwing up rearrangements, write that down on the top of your paper. Write that down on your note card. And then for every equation that you're rearranging, literally look at that. Do I have addition and subtraction occurring outside of parentheses? Do I have multiplication and division occurring outside of parentheses? No. Do I have exponents? Do I have parentheses? And just work it backwards. What this means you have to do, and I've seen some really interesting sort of other approaches, and I don't want to sound like the physics dictator, but I will. There are some things that are just totally not negotiable in physics. When you're doing the easy 3-part algebra ones, the velocity, average velocity is equal to distance divided by time, average acceleration is equal to change in velocity divided by time. You can do that a number of ways. You can do that in the form of a factor label. You can do all kinds of things. But what you have to get used to, because 4-part algebra is coming, and then like 9-part algebra is coming. What you have to get used to is list the variables that you have, write the equation that you have, circle what you're going to solve for, and solve the darn thing. So VI, VF, delta T, delta X. If I have these 4 values for something and I know that I want VI, I'm going to pick the equation that uses those 4. So our old friend, our really simple one, 1/2 VI plus VF delta T. And what I generally do, and I find this really useful, and especially as we get into larger equations and where we're doing multiple substitutions, is I'll circle right off the bat what I know I need to solve for, because it gives me a visual cue. Your mind is capable of juggling a bunch of things, but there's a limit to how many things you can juggle. So the more cues you give yourself to not drop a ball, the better off you are. So I circle it, then I rearrange. Some of you have actually already kind of struggled with rearranging for this, because you're rearranging for something inside the parentheses. What do you do first? You look at the multiplication that's occurring outside parentheses. So 2 delta x divided by delta t equals VI plus VF. Well, now that's pretty simple, because now you can just subtract and get 2 delta x over delta t minus VF will give you VI. I do expect that for every single problem, because let me tell you this, on a test, you get a point for doing this, you get a point for listing your variables, you get a point for writing down the correct equation to begin with, and you get another point for having correctly solved that equation for the variable you're looking for. And when I say solved, I mean don't you dare plug in a number until you've got that solved for the variable that you are hunting. Reason being, in chapter 3, you have to start solving, creating expressions that you can then plug into another expression. So you can't solve for something because it's impossible to back follow your work and find your algebra issues. You got to solve for those variables and have that equation rearranged. Okay? So that was just my little thoughts on problem solving. You keep working, I'll keep floating.